You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
This is Randy. In the future, the best way to find out about new comic book series is to turn on the TV and check out the new CW fall lineup.
This is Melanie, and in the future, the North American Union and the South American Alliance will join to create a super country known simply as Merca.
This is Jesse, and in the future, when a crown falls out of your tooth on a Friday, dentists will actually fix it over the weekend.
Welcome to the Grawlix podcast. This is episode 20. Still not legal to drink yet, Melanie.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, darn it. Oh, golly gee.
Grawlix you in the first intro, in the first minute of it.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We've got a great, big, awesome show for you today. We're gonna do our greetings. We're gonna probably talk about a little, I don't know, in-house type stuff. And then we're gonna do this month's poll list pick, which was Herald, Lovecraft, and Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
By a landslide.
Yeah. And then we are going to do another Dead Air installment, which we talk about The Walking Dead. This episode will be Volume 3. At some point, we'll probably talk about some Doctor Who.
Ooh.
Doctor Who. It sounded like you both said who, but they were oohs. And then that's our show.
Yeah.
So I don't know why. I think that's a thing I'm trying to like do. I'm trying to bring that to the show. Just like you tune in and you're like, here's what we're talking about, so they know.
Right.
Is that something we ever did before?
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes we kind of let them know, sort of.
Yeah.
When we care.
When we care.
Well, yeah. Like I care.
Well, you know.
I'm kidding.
Grawlix cares.
Grawlix care. Melanie might not, but we do.
I care.
Collectively, we care.
I care a lot.
We have
Sorry.
the capacity. We have the capacity to care.
Oh.
That's the worst bumper sticker ever. We have the capacity to care.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But,
if we have time.
Doing is a whole other thing. Being able and actually doing, two different things.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
So how's it going, guys? How are you all?
I'm all right.
You all right?
I went to a carnival last night.
You went to a carnival last night.
It was fun.
And nobody rides didn't fall apart?
Nothing fell apart. Some of them weren't completely put together, but that's fine.
I was going to say, everything I know about carnivals is not true.
There was one ride we went on many times that we had to keep waiting while they went and soaped down one or other of the cars because they were full of vomit, and that was great. That's
a good indicator that it's a good ride, though.
Yeah,
that's almost advertising.
That was our favorite ride there, actually.
She's like, oh, I'm sorry, there's going to be a wait. Somebody vomited, and everybody's like, really?
Yeah, we're like, and luckily we noticed a pattern forming. Stay off of the yellow cars. Those are the puke cars. You see a little kid that goes in looking a little wishy-washy, and the guy's like, sit in that one. And we're like, yeah, keep it to the yellow cars.
That's funny.
Because that's the wishy-washy car.
Yep.
That's the one they have to wishy-washy.
Every time.
It's designated so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you took some great pictures. There's one of my favorite was, and you captioned it fantastically, was there's it's like a cartoon bug face, like a big plastic cartoon bug face that would go on the front of some kids ride car or something.
Yeah.
And it was just laying on the ground.
Yeah. Well, it was Bella had ridden on this little kid roller coaster that I didn't get on any of the little kid rides with her because
you're a big kid.
Yeah, I'm a big kid. And as she's pulling back in after the end of the ride, I went to take a picture, and I noticed there's this big pile of lead nuts and bolts laying right there. And I'm like, oh, crap. So I took a picture of that, the pile of nuts and bolts and the wrench like sitting right next to the little conductor area. And I'm like, that's a little disturbing. And then I look over, and then on the other side of the like rail under the roller coaster, is this big, weird, like bug face thing.
And you captioned it about something about a little piece of childhood trauma laying on the ground.
Yep. And I'm like, leave as many nuts and bolts out as you need, as long as you don't put that horrendous thing back on. Jeez. I don't like my rides to have faces.
No.
Well, that face wasn't on the ride anymore. It was just a face on the ground.
That's where it belongs.
Yes.
Anything new with you, Jesse?
Last night we went to a gallery reception thing where it was the like annual fundraiser. So I was all schmancy with my half a tooth.
Oh yeah, of course.
We were the host couple, so it was like, hey, good to see you. I'm not going to smile at you though. This is like worst case scenario for losing a tooth.
You just
Or not a tooth, but like a crown. That looks like I've lost a tooth.
You just shake hands, be like, "Hi, I'm Jesse. My crown fell out. Hi, I'm Jesse. My crown fell out."
And then just be like, I'm too fancy to smile.
I'm too, yeah. There you go.
Who's that guy? He seems really intense.
Well, someone did say like Holly was much more smiley than I, and they were like, she's. Why does she look like she's having more fun? And I'm like, she's better at it. That was my deflection. Was she's good at having fun? I guess. So yeah. but no one can see my awkward smile on the podcast, so this is ideal.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we did tell them about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So if you hear any weird whistling, that's probably just like the wind in the willows of my teeth.
In post, I'm gonna go and put like extra whistles.
like Steamboat Willie.
Yeah, it's gonna be comical. I haven't really been up to much in terms of like, I haven't been going to carnivals or art galas. I've been prepping this thing I'm kind of excited for, and it's relevant to the podcast. It's very tedious to prep this, but we have. I've got a couple things to talk about. So we're on the Electronic Media Collective podcast network, which you hear at the beginning of every episode. If you've ever listened to us, we're on there because the intro's there. I operate that podcast network, so by default we're on there. But we got another show to join up. In the past we've talked about the Technology Geek, which has kind of turned into the Brandon Lapani show. We have another awesome show, and this one's very in line with what we talk about here. Except they're usually a little bit more movie centric, but they still talk a ton of comics. Fatboy and Captain Llama is on the Electronic Media Collective podcast network now.
Yay!
Yes.
Yeah. Woohoo!
So welcome to them. I was very excited when they accepted my offer to join up with us.
Yes, welcome to Fatboy and Captain Llama.
Yes, both of them.
Yeah.
That's a very fun show. I enjoy listening to it.
Sounds fun.
Like I said, they talk about comic books and a lot of like comic book movies. They're not vulgar, but they don't have the language restriction we put on ourselves. So
Right.
They get a little more loose with it sometimes, and that's a lot of fun to listen to.
Well, you look at the titles and you'll know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not all the titles, I kid, but no, that's awesome because they recently talked about Fantastic Four before we did. So
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
And they seem like very nice gentlemen.
Yeah,
Lovely.
But it's a fun show, and
I listen.
It's
I'm a
funny.
listener.
Yeah, me too. It's always great to be like, oh great, because I really enjoy your show. So
Mhm.
Hey, join our network because we like you.
yeah, exactly.
And they did. Well,
Hey, Not everyone does. I've approached other shows, and they forgot to get back to me. Is all.
Right.
Yeah.
They're busy guys.
But I mean, the podcast network is it's literally a place you can go. If you like our show, you can go there and find some other shows that are similar in spirit to our show. It's a good way to discover new shows. And that's really what it's all about. Further along those lines, I have been prepping a electronic media collective radio station that'll stream 24 hours a day. It's an internet radio station, and you'll be able to hear nothing but podcasts during the day, and then nothing but music, mostly electronic musicians group music, which is kind of like the music counterpart to the podcast network. I mean, it literally is like the same thing, only for music. So I figured, what better thing to do than put those together?
Randy, what is electronic music?
That is a great question. It's like a grouping of genres in a way. It's more to do with how music is produced, but like, a lot of people think techno. Sure, techno would fall in there, dance, house, but also like industrial music produced using samples or synthesizers.
So created with electronic sounds as opposed to traditional instruments?
Yes, generally yes. I mean, there can be a healthy mix of both.
Okay.
But yeah, it's come from the spirit of like creating music electronically. And then, there's a wide depth of stuff that falls in there, but that's like how you create the music is the main defining factor of what makes it something that would mesh in the electronic musicians group.
Yes. And so much music is added to at the very least on the computer before it is completed that a lot of music.
I mean,
arguably
a lot of stuff, not everything, but a lot of stuff you hear on the radio, a lot of like pop music, you wouldn't think as electronic music, but it totally is most pop music.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not saying, we're a pop music group, because that's not really the case, but
well, a lot of pop music is stealing elements, like I don't have good examples, but like Zed and Taylor Swift will steal some electronic music stuff, but that doesn't mean she falls in that genre.
They do steal a lot from
oh yeah, well, like when
dubstep
was super popular, you heard a lot of dubstep within a pop song.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be the whole pop song, but all of a sudden you'd have some wub-wubs.
And I've noticed that like dubstep was like a very new, strange genre that like mutated in upon itself multiple times, but it was for the most part kind of a new, very strange sound. And retro synth stuff is by its nature, like a throwback sound.
Mm-hmm.
But
sure.
I think it's already been noticed, but like that scene is kind of gaining some ground, and you can already see that creep into pop music and stuff.
Yeah, when I made an effort to try and find new music because I didn't want to stagnate in the 90s, I was like, this sounds like the 80s. Like, so a lot of the new music sounds like 80s music. And I'm like, okay, well, then I guess that won't be too hard to find new music that I can get into, because this is stuff that I listened to when I was little, basically. And before
dubstep, there were other, there's just like little techniques and certain sounds in a lot of electronic dance music, EDM in general, which is like it's just a super vast genre anyway. But you'll hear things crop up in smaller scenes, and they trickle upwards. There's certain things that trickle upwards into pop music. But how did we get here?
I blame Jesse.
I think it is my fault. So
it's okay.
I said Taylor Swift, and we just went downhill from there.
I think Taylor Swift did a very 80s sounding album recently.
She even called it something.
Yeah, like 1989 or something.
Yeah. So it's her fault. And by proxy, my fault. Because apparently I'm in proxy with Swift.
Yep.
You're cahoots.
Whoa! Oh boy, I'm a supervillain now.
So you're like one of the ex-boyfriends in Scott Pilgrim. That's how you're.
Oh no! If I lose my super vegan powers, I'm gonna be out of luck, big time.
Anyway, yeah. So there will be more about that. I kind of need to launch the station within a month, or else they'll delete everything I've been uploading to their servers.
Oh, so all the work is gone.
Yeah.
And you all need to listen, because if no one listens, they also delete everything that's in there.
Yeah, it's like radio. There will be ads occasionally, but that's because they need to do that to pay for hosting and the streaming services. So yeah, there is you have to have like so many hours listened to, or so many listeners every so often. I don't think it'll be too bad, but
yeah, at the very least, you and I and Jesse can just
leave the computer.
Turn the computer on, let it stream for an hour or two every day.
There we go. Yeah.
Much like our main podcast.
Oh no!
This is the episode where we are self-deprecating.
Mm-hmm.
No, I've never listened to the podcast, baby.
That's true. That's true. You're right. 1/3 of the show. That's not uncommon for podcasts that I've heard. It seems like there's at least one guy who has to edit the thing.
Which is you.
Which is me. I know Jesse listened to every episode too. And there's always like one guy or gal that never doesn't listen to any podcast. Every podcast that has multiple hosts, at least one of them doesn't even listen to podcasts, and that's you.
I started listening to that one zombie thing.
Oh yeah, that's like they call it a podcast, but that's an audio play. I'm glad you're listening to that.
Yeah,
I thought you would like that. We're Alive.
I do like that.
It's an audio play. It's like a post-apocalyptic zombie audio. Well, I guess it would be post-apocalyptic, but it's like during a zombie outbreak.
Yeah.
So
okay.
And I listen to it when I play my spades. So
yeah. So you listen to you play your Facebook games and your card games and
spades.
Stuff. Sure.
It's not
your number
it's not
games.
Just a card game, baby.
It's a way of life.
It is a way of life. It is.
It's a gardening utensil.
It's a second job.
But they have like spades tournaments in real life. I just won't go to them because I am antisocial. But
I
could win us some money.
Never met a spade I didn't like.
Would you go to a spades competition?
I would go and watch. I don't think I would compete, but I could probably do decent because I stop when I don't have a crap partner, which is why I like to play solo, which is why I need a podcast to listen to take my mind off it.
Good point. But yeah. So
anyway.
Yeah, We're Alive. Wow, we are just jumping from thing to thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I've been enjoying too. And actually, I think you blew past me on a couple episodes. Mm-hmm. Been listening to some audio plays. Obviously, for recently, Doctor Who was kind of my like many things, my gateway into checking out more.
And I think that this is what he gave me that to listen to as a gateway, so that he's like, yeah, when you're done with this, we've got some Doctor Who you can start listening to, which I'm actually okay with. So
this kind of ties into something me and Jesse were messaging each other about today. It helps to, like, depending who you're trying to pull into a thing, whether it's audio plays or Doctor Who in general, it helps to like know that person and what would appeal to them, because you can usually find a gateway. In this case, I was like, hey, Melanie, you like zombies. And it's a pretty well produced show, this We're Alive.
But isn't that how you got into Doctor Who?
Well, yeah. Melanie was watching Doctor Who, and it's not that I wasn't totally not interested, but I was like, I got other things to do. And then she made me watch the
gas mask
zombies with the creepy little kid. It was the Doctor dances, and I can't remember what the other part of that episode.
The empty child.
Yeah, the empty child. Because she knew that appealed to me on many levels. There's just a lot of creepy factors going on there, and that was totally my gateway into Doctor Who. And then I went wild.
Yep.
Then I just bathed in the world of Doctor Who.
Indeed.
And I scrubbed my armpits with Santerans. And
it's a new clone batch, so
yeah. Not great fighters, but good for scrubbing armpits.
Oh, man.
When we recorded the last episode, had we finished the series yet?
You guys still had the 8th Doctor movie yet to do, I believe.
So we've watched it. We finished it.
Oh, okay. Oh, you subjected yourself to that.
Yeah.
And you're okay?
We survived.
We did.
There were some laughs. I had some laughs. I was able to, every time it would get kind of like really frustrating, I'd think of some random thing they did in either the classic series or the new series that felt like just as much of a like ridiculous leap.
Oh, sure.
So I was like, in a way,
it all works.
In a way, it
somehow.
Works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was fairly ridiculous, but there were parts that I was like, I thought it was going to be way worse in this direction or that direction than it was. Mm-hmm. So overall I was pleased.
Oh, go ahead.
I think the Doctor is perfect. You know, like Sylvester McCoy did well.
Mm-hmm.
Paul McGann did well.
Mm-hmm.
Full stop. Mm. Like the Doctor was done well.
The Master.
Yeah, not as much. He's a gooey snake.
So,
but I don't blame Julia Roberts' brother, whose name I don't remember.
Eric
Roberts.
I don't blame Eric Roberts. I blame whoever wrote the part.
Yeah, he looked okay.
Yeah,
in the part,
yeah.
You know, they even put him in creepy Gallifreyan big robe.
It disappoints me with things America does to foreign properties.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to blame Canada on this one because that was actually shot in Canada.
Was it?
Yep.
Well,
their fault.
Canada, what is wrong with you? Well, okay.
Yeah, well, except when you guys make comics, which are awesome. I will give you that.
And one of the show creators was Canadian.
Oh, man. We've got to give Doctor Who to Canada, too.
Yeah.
All right. You guys rock.
And there's a lot of pretty good Doctor Who podcasts out of Canada, so there's fans.
But don't let it go to your head.
Yeah, come on. Keep in line.
Mainly because you're above us and it's easy to throw things downhill.
The 7th Doctor arrives on Earth. You know, he's got this whole master thing going on, you know, with the goo, snake goo, and the ashes, whatever all that was.
And somehow the Daleks are involved, yeah.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, the Daleks are...
because
they're targeting the Master for whatever reason. It was like, I didn't know they had that big of a beef with him. But
he had to go to Skaro to pick up the Master or the Master's remains or whatever from some prison on Skaro. That was all very weird. I kind of seen it as a, hey, Skaro, Daleks, like, let's... You know, that's a big Doctor Who thing. Let's throw it in there.
Yeah.
And I give them props for referencing as many, pulling the 7th Doctor in there himself and giving him a regeneration for this basically what was supposed to be a pilot for a new Doctor Who series across the sea here, or the ocean, whatever. I give them props for, like, tying it that closely to the original show. Like, I'm glad they did that. There's you could call it the, I guess in this case, Canadianization, but the Americanization where the Doctor gets to Earth, steps out, and what happens? There's a machine gun. There's like a big gunfight. There's a machine.
Yeah.
He gets mowed down in machine gun fire. I was like, what? Yeah. I was upset at that point. I was like, that's not how they're going to take this Doctor out. Like, I was
They kind of did, kind of didn't.
Yeah.
It was the impetus, but yeah.
Yeah, I actually ended up feeling a lot better because I was like, that surgery idea is actually pretty cool.
Yeah. And then they had the classic Universal monsters like tie over, which was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. There's a little bit of Frankenstein and it's alive and
little cheesy, but I can forgive that.
Mm-hmm.
I was so the 8th Doctor regenerates in the morgue cooler, whatever it's called, the fridge. and bashes the door off the hinges.
Oh yeah, super strength apparently.
And I was kind of like, what is that? And then I remembered Matt Smith's regeneration. I was like, okay, well, weird stuff happens.
Well, and even the 9 to 10 regeneration, where all sorts of things can happen. Oh, I can just heal because I'm still in the regeneration process.
Yeah, he loses a hand. Yeah. So it's weird. That was another case where I was like, it could have really like soured me on it. Then I was like, oh yeah, there's precedent. And then there was a lot of like actiony stuff. Like he's there. I seen somebody online call it like the Terminator 2 remake of Doctor Who or something like that. And they're really
spend a lot of time on a motorbike.
They do.
Yeah, running away from. I think he's the master driving an ambulance or something.
Oh yeah.
The motorcycle stuff, I was like, oh, what is all this? And then I remembered Matt Smith riding a motorcycle up the side of a building. I was like, okay, well.
Well, and Pertwee riding any motorized vehicle he
anything.
gets his hand on. Yeah.
Hovercrafts, dune buggies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the future, dune buggies too.
That weird little helicopter thing. What
Oh
was
yeah,
that?
yeah. Yeah, he had a James Bond thing going on for sure.
Yeah, he did.
And then the one thing that really, and this is something that they kind of play on quite a bit in the new series that hardcore classic Who fans complain about a bit, and I know Jesse kind of has some beef with this a bit, but it's not as evident as it is in this. The shoehorned love story. There's always got to be a love what do they call it? A love interest.
Yeah,
I didn't buy that at all.
It was the first time. Yeah.
It really was, and it was like, so it just ticked certain boxes where I was like, oh, why did you have to do that?
Yeah.
Why does there have to be machine guns in the first 5 minutes?
But there's worse things to hate. Like that one does bug me. It bugs me more in the new series because they didn't let it go. Mm-hmm. But like in this movie, it doesn't bug me as much as say, I'm half Time Lord.
The big thing.
Yeah, I'm half human. Like that's
The half human thing is, that thing's so massive. That like little like weird thing they decided to throw in there that obviously they had plans.
That was clearly some kind of Fox / new writer thing. Where it's like, well, they can't be relatable unless they're half human.
And it's weird, like, so they've dropped that for the new series. I mean, obviously they've never really touched on that. Mm-hmm. But do you think that's anything they would even contemplate going back in the new series and touching on? Because they tied the movie into the new series. Like most of that is canon. Of course, with a lot of Doctor Who, you and the writers kind of pick and choose what remains canon. So the half human thing, I just assume is like, well, we're going to take this since McCoy was in there.
They've retconned that in multiple different ways. Like they had a certain way to handle it in the audio, and then they had a certain way to handle it in the book. I read the book that's supposed to come out right after it, called The Eight Doctors, where basically the Master had like a contingency plan left in the TARDIS that was a trap, and it went off, and he lost his memories and stuff. And so he had to go back in time and re-encounter himself to gain his memories back. And basically it was like a ruse of some sort. I don't know how they explained it real well, but they basically said it was a trick. The Doctor lost part of his Time Lord capacity. No, he didn't. So, I don't know. They've tried. I mean, that was Terrence Dicks too. Like they pulled in the big guns for that one. Like, how do we fix this?
Yeah. So overall, I mean, it wasn't great, but I didn't come out of the viewing as the end is pretty awful. I didn't come out of it as disgusted as I thought I might, because I was kind of like, well, there's some entertaining stuff in there, and then there's a lot of stuff where I'm just like, oh, okay, well, that was a thing for that one movie.
Yeah.
And everybody can just move on. We're good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love that scene where he kind of discovers who he is, and he's like, he just stops mid-sentence and he's like, and these shoes fit perfectly. and that's where I was sold. I was like, oh, we need more. That's why I'm like, we need a new Paul McGann TV series.
Yeah.
We need some. I mean, he's perfect for it, but we probably won't ever get that beyond The Night of the Doctor. but that's why I was so like, I don't know, fanboying over the Night of the Doctor, because it was like, finally we get another on-air appearance. We get 2, and one's a mini-sode.
It's crazy that, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Ninth Doctor stories, but only the 2, like the one movie and the one appearance in the actual television series. And the one appearance was like not even was that even broadcast? 'Cause I think it was just a web thing. I mean, it's officially show produced.
The
eighth
one.
Yeah, the mini appearance where he regenerates into the War Doctor.
It's I believe it's included in the DVD release of
Oh, nice, good.
Of the 50th. So it's considered canon.
It would be cool if we could actually get more televised.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's young enough, he's not, it's not like the other Doctors where it's like, okay, well, we can't really get more 4th Doctor unless we call him the Curator.
Mm-hmm.
But the 8th Doctor is still well within, he still looks like his Doctor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they did that good thing where they made him look all weird and, blousy and
bossy, yeah,
and funky haired. So
yeah, they give him a different hairdo, a better wig, because he apparently hated that wig.
I don't blame him.
Yeah.
The TARDIS was very interesting looking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they really ramped up the "it's bigger" and on the inside thing.
Yeah, it's almost like a castle in there.
They had bats.
Yeah, I mean, so that was kind of fun. I appreciated, like, I've noticed in the new series a couple like jabs and callbacks to that TARDIS interior. I think can't recall them offhand, but yeah. I mean, I'm glad that's not the normal TARDIS interior, but it was kind of cool to see that, and weird because they had the big like fight showdown, and that was totally just like castle interior.
Oh yeah, you drive the motorcycle in. And it comes back out, that whole thing.
That was fun. I enjoyed that quite a bit. And it wasn't, I mean, obviously they couldn't do it quite as fancy as like recently where they have got Clara driving into the TARDIS and the camera follows behind her into the TARDIS,
Yeah.
But I like how they did it. It makes it extra cartoony. All right, well, that was some talk. We've got more Doctor Who talk to do later, I imagine, but we should probably move on to some comic books.
Yes, let's do that.
Some comics.
Let's
All
comic
right.
it up.
So let's talk about our poll list pick. Now, I haven't looked at the Grawlix podcast.com website since we started recording, obviously. But I don't imagine the voting on next week's pick or next month's pick has changed a whole lot. So I'm just going to go ahead and call it. The title with the most votes, so basically what we're going to read this month and talk about next episode, is Old Man Logan. Wolverine, Old Man Logan.
Yep, that is current. We have it at 41% of the votes.
Nice. It was followed closely by Batman Arkham Asylum.
Yep.
Which has been on there for a long time. And it seems like it inches up past in the number one vote or number one spot, and then something like quickly overtakes it at the end every time.
Yeah,
it's kind of stalled out at where it's at. So
yeah, I don't think there's been a lot of new votes on it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Old Man Wolverine or Old Man Logan. I've never read it. Have you read it, Jesse?
I have not. No,
Oh, that surprises me.
This will be totally new.
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah.
I know what it is, but
I know the premise. Yeah, it sounds good. I don't know why I haven't read it.
So I'm excited for that. Melanie seems not as excited for it.
Well,
It'll be good. You'll like it.
I better. No. I like the X-Men stuff anyway. I haven't read a whole lot of it, but
You're not big on Wolverine. Is that it? Is that it? Tell us.
It may be a little bit.
What, you don't like Wolverine? What's your problem?
Not particularly. I mean,
No, you don't have to like Wolverine. It's fine.
he's arrogant.
Well, I mean, people love Wolverine. That's why he would appear in so many books.
I know.
But you get kind of the lashback. It's the Batman thing.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, people love Batman and buy Batman, or else there wouldn't be a million Batman books. But then you've got another portion of people who are like, ugh, I'm tired of Batman, or I'm tired of Wolverine. Like, why do these guys have to appear in every title?
Yeah.
And I understand that.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's kind of what I am, because
Well, it seems like Wolverine is the character that's so popular in the X-Men universe that he almost gets that hipsterism where it's like, like the people who don't know anything about comics know about Wolverine, and they're like, yeah, Wolverine, right? And you're like, I knew Wolverine before he was cool, and he's not anymore. So
well, and when you read, like I said, I haven't read a whole lot of X-Men, but what I've read of X-Men, he's not really all that cool to me as far as mutant powers go. There's some that are way cooler than him that I wish they would focus on.
Right.
It's a good time to read it because, I mean, we have at least one more X-Men movie, but it sounds like Hugh Jackman, I mean, I think he's in for the next X-Men movie and maybe another Wolverine, but that'll probably
and then
be...
he's going to quit because he's an old man.
Well, I'm like, no joke, though. I mean, he is getting older, and it's harder for him to maintain that physique, even though it seems like he's beefier in each frickin' movie.
Yeah.
When they've kind of hinted that maybe the third Wolverine movie will be Old Man Logan.
Yeah, exactly. So I figured this is a good time to read that as well, because it'll probably, at the very least, they'll pull a lot of ideas from it if they're going to retire the character, because who else? They can't replace Hugh Jackman at this point. He's been in how many of the movies is that role?
All of them?
Yeah. Yeah. Literally.
He's like the only character that is the same in every single movie.
I mean,
or same actor, I mean.
Even First Class, he still had that cameo, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He got the F-bomb in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it was perfect.
Yep.
It was the only one they needed, yeah.
Yep. That's next episode.
Yep.
Woo.
But this episode,
let's put Wolverine aside for now and talk about the real comic, the real issues at hand. Issues 1 through 6 specifically. We read Herald, Lovecraft, and Tesla. Issues number 1 through 6. 6 isn't even out as of recording. It'll be out this coming week.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel super special.
Yeah, it's very cool. We got that from the creators. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of extra things to say about this. This title is blowing up. So this was the book. We talked about it in, I think, episode 19, episode 19 of the Grawlix podcast. We're basically, I don't know how they found us, how they found the Grawlix podcast or our website, but they had rallied their readers, their cultists, to vote for them in the pull list. Mm-hmm. So we hadn't even heard of this book before. I hadn't come across it, and it just came out of nowhere and blew everything on the pull list away. Mm-hmm. Because they rallied their readers. So that's very cool.
We've talked about it a couple times. I mean, I think it was on our list, and then it exploded.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And if I can jump in.
Yeah.
I loved it. Like from the very first couple pages, I was like, I love this. I already know it. I love it.
Yeah.
But I was,
You sounded on board just by the title when we first mentioned it.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Oh, what's not to like? I mean, yeah.
We read issues 1 through 6, which you can also get as the first 2 trades. Volume 1 has issues 1 through 3, and that is called History in the Making. And then Volume 2, it's called Fingers to the Bone, and that's not out till September 30th.
I don't know what Volume 3 is about, but they just posted on their Facebook page that research for Volume 4 issues 10 through 12 is called Bundles of Joy, and they have this picture of a place that's just called Lovecraft, and it's got the was it serif font Lovecraft, and it's got like lips next to it. It's like like one of those love shops.
For mature adults and such.
Yeah. But I think people of all ages can get into this series. So
yeah, I think so too. I'm pulling this information from their Facebook page.
Yeah.
Herald, Lovecraft, and Tesla is an ongoing comic with words by John Riley, Art by Tom Rogers, and ink, color, and letters by Dexter Weeks. When Tesla's fiancée, Amelia Earhart, is pulled into another dimension after stealing one of Tesla's unfinished devices, Tesla seeks out Lovecraft's arcane expertise to save her. Their journey pits them against ancient gods, secret societies, strange technologies, and other historical villains like Aleister Crowley and Thomas Edison.
That guy's a jerk.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it.
Edison?
Yeah.
He is a jerk.
Obviously, the idea was, like, when we discovered this on the pull list and looked into it a little bit, we were all intrigued by the idea. And I enjoyed this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was really good.
I did too. The only criticism I had at all, and it was very small, and it actually turns into a compliment, is trying to make all these fictional characters know each other except that they do it really well and in believable ways, because they take parts of the real historical figures' history and work it into each other. Like, everybody knows Houdini went to a lot of seances and whatever, and they worked that into...
Like Aleister Crowley, and yeah. Being able to tie the characters together that way.
I like how Mark Twain is like, Tesla, do you know this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing. So they even kind of tongue in cheek back to it. It's like, okay, well, Tesla and Twain know each other, but Lovecraft, who's that guy?
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and through that, they're able to tie in then Houdini in through Lovecraft and his mom, who's a very unusual and interesting character.
Yeah, I want to know more about that whole thing.
Yeah.
Don't mess with his mom, man.
No way.
Okay, so they're working with these historical characters.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I was really impressed by is that they're not just the name, it's not just well, this is Lovecraft or this is Tesla. Each character has a very unique identity or a personality.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily look at all these cool guys. Some of them are annoying, or some of them are have character flaws, is what I'm saying.
Right.
It's not just bad.
Mm-hmm.
And they use these personalities. There's really interesting dynamics between the characters. I mean, the book is Lovecraft and Tesla, and it really plays at them being on opposite ends of a spectrum.
The buddy cops.
It really is. It is. And Tesla is the straight man, and Lovecraft is kind of the off kilter.
Yep, he's a loose cannon.
Yeah, yeah. At one point, and I don't really want to talk spoilers on a lot of this stuff, but at one point they kind of split up for part of this issue, and then towards the end enter the same room, but they're kind of in it's like a cliffhanger end of the issue where they're oh, we're in a predicament all of a sudden. But when they see each other, Lovecraft's professor, and Tesla calls him Mr. Wizard or something. It calls him Wizard or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way they refer to each other that way.
Yeah.
I butchered that, but so I enjoyed that quite a bit. They're just playing off the personalities back and forth,
mm-hmm.
And then how other people also react to, because Lovecraft, he's really a wild character in this.
Uh-huh.
Which you kind of expect him to be.
Yeah. Well, and he makes a scene at Mark Twain's house. It's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm. But when you hear it, Lovecraft and Tesla's an interesting and amazing person in himself, but it's going to be Lovecraft that's going to carry it into the fun fantasy area of comic books, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, and they because Tesla has the super advanced technology where you can pull the science fiction in there. Mm-hmm. You can pull alternate realities in through Tesla and his devices, and then you add in Lovecraft and you pull in this whole other world of mystics and fantasy and
mm-hmm.
summoning and creatures and dark gods and
And that is kind of something, I don't know why it surprised me. I should have expected it, but that is totally something that surprised me, because at one point, the first time a demon type creature shows up, not necessarily it's a demon, but a strange creature shows up,
mm-hmm.
I was kind of oh, okay, we're really embracing all this, it handles it so well.
I'm trying to think of a comparison, Doctor Strange meets Tony Stark. I don't know.
I know we're supposed to be talking about this, but if I can offer a complimentary book or comic, I should say, series, whatever. Manifest Destiny.
Yeah. Manifest
Destiny pairs perfectly with this, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, and I had mentioned that to you because I had these on my phone, and I pulled up Comic Rack. If there were a way to like portray a comic book double feature, I had this, and then it was followed by Manifest Destiny, and I looked at those two titles, and I was like, holy crap. Because it is very much, you got the historical figures, but then you're taken into these wild fantasy, science fiction, or horror adventures through these. It's like an alternate history type book.
Yeah. And I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And this book, however, I think rides less of a horror feel. I mean, there's definitely some like horror aspects in there, but this book definitely rides, I think, a more fun adventure tone.
Right.
In general than Manifest Destiny.
Well, and I think that's Lovecraft. His horror is, I mean, it's horrifying, I suppose, into the world type things and future, evil ruler type creatures, whatever. But it always seems like fun. And it's weird languages and all kinds of strange things happening that he'd be like, yeah, it's the end of the world and, whatever. But
he's kind of like, I've seen things. You would not believe the things I've seen.
Yeah. And you're like,
he does that whole thing.
And there's a little bit of violence in this. It's not really so much like hardcore. There is a little bit of violence. There's some murder. And a little bit of blood and stuff. But I think this is something that would definitely, I don't know what kind of rating, if it has a rating. It's released by Action Labs or Action Lab. And, but I think this is something that would definitely appeal to a wider age range than some things.
If you could get them interested in awesome things like science and literature.
Well, let's not get into that debate.
Okay.
You're sounding like an old person right now. There are still kids who like that stuff, just because the kids don't.
Oh no, the kids that I know do, because I
Okay, well, there are still kids
impress
that
them
like
with
that
awesomeness.
stuff.
Kids, you should read it.
No, yeah, I think because it does have that gateway into.
It ties almost back to Doctor Who, where it's like, and I'm gonna allude to my review of The Last Adventure real quick, where kids they're gonna be benefited by seeing things that are just a little bit too scary.
Yeah.
Like Doctor Who, because the world is scary. So it's okay to know that the world is scary.
And it's okay to imagine that the world is even scarier, because that makes it fun.
Yeah.
When you can't go to sleep sometimes.
And if anybody knows, it's Lovecraft. He's seen things.
Oh yeah.
But the crux, without spoiling too much, it's right in the solicits. The crux of the story is that they're going on an adventure because it ties into the disappearance of Amelia Earhart. That's why you have Aleister Crowley. That's why you have, Lovecraft. That's why you have so many asides.
A scientist recommends that Tesla goes and talks to Lovecraft because Lovecraft deals with a stranger side of things, of sciences, so to speak. So using that as a basis for the storyline, it makes the launch into like I said, the mystical and the fantastic areas feel more natural. And then therefore the introduction to characters like Aleister Crowley and other characters makes sense as well. Like it works. You had, like you mentioned earlier, you kind of had, you're like, I find it's a little odd that all these people just know each other, but they don't necessarily all just know each other. It does like, it's a link of like historical celebrities, weird science celebrities and stuff.
It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon was actually 6 degrees of Tesla.
Yeah. And you've got Einstein in there and a whole bunch of people. Who
most of them have their own kind of like little bit of historical mystery, especially Amelia Earhart, that's for sure. But
yeah,
but there's a speculation about a lot of
almost all of them.
Yeah. So that works really well into it too, because science and fantasy and historical questions,
When I like that, like Einstein at this point in the story, he's still like got dark hair as opposed to
Yeah.
the wild gray white hair that we're used to.
You know what? I didn't even realize he was him until
Like
Right.
later.
Yeah. until a little later on, and then I was like, "Oh, is that Einstein? That's hilarious."
Yeah, and
But it made sense because he looks like Einstein, but we're so used to seeing him as gray and white.
Mm-hmm.
I like the artwork. It's got a nice bright color palette when it needs it, and the art helps reflect the tone of the story.
Yeah.
Some of the, you could call them creatures that they come across in these issues are pretty outlandish and insane. But it's I hate to say fun, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And it does keep the mystery, like you said, they're basing it on these characters that are historical characters, real people, but almost all of them had like a strange air of mystery, or there's conspiracies or theories about these people. And it plays on that well. It expands on what some of these could be, but also like holds some back so that they continually have mysteries and areas they could explore in future issues, and that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I do have one criticism about the lettering, or specifically the dialogue balloons, the word balloons.
Uh-huh.
I didn't notice it so much in the later issues, but some of the earlier issues, the balloon placement didn't flow exactly like I had expected. At first, I thought it was just, because sometimes you do that. You're reading comic books and your eyes jump to the balloons in the wrong order. I mean, as we know, there's an art and a language of the word balloon placement to where your eyes, most of the time when you're going, they just flow from balloon to balloon. It's either the art or, I mean, sometimes it's obvious where the balloons intentionally lead your eye. But I just found there was just a couple times in some of the earlier issues where it didn't pull my eye to the right balloon. And the dialogue would be a little out of order, and I'd like have to go back and be like, oh, okay, it's supposed to go this way. But in terms of having something negative to say about a book, and the fact that like I only noticed it in a couple places, it was enough places where I was like, I might mention this. That's pretty good though. It's pretty good. That's the only real issue I had with these issues. Maybe you guys didn't find that at all.
It felt very professional, considering that this is, I'm assuming, a pretty independent endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the things I was pretty impressed with. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if I noticed the balloons as much.
Maybe it was just me.
But it was such an easy read. Like I think I read this immediately, like beginning of the month, like after the last recording, and it wasn't one of those things where I was like, oh, I gotta make sure I read this. No, it was like a thing where I'm like, oh, I hope I spread this out enough that I can remember it, because I'm just like gobbling each issue up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like I said, I read it so long ago now, which, we recorded a month ago, so it's only been a month. But I read it all right away, and then refilled my phone with
this is one of
all the other stuff I read.
This is one of the first months where we had 2 trades to read. Of course, oftentimes we all read other comics and stuff, like we normally would. This is one of the first months where we had like 2 trades to read, and I blew through them, both of them, almost a month ago with no effort, and was like, where's more?
Yeah, I know, me too. I was really I didn't realize at first that we were getting advanced things, and I was like, hey, I thought you said we were going to get some advanced things. Where's more?
Like, we did. That's, oh man, Lovecraft and Tesla, like, yeah, as soon as I finished issue 6, and more so than Walking Dead, which we'll talk about later, obviously, I blew through all those issues, and as soon as I finished issue 6, I was like, I want the next one. Like, there needs to be more. Like, this is definitely one I'll keep following.
Yeah.
Right.
Darn comic books and their long waits in between issues.
Yeah.
Especially when we read an issue really ahead of time, so we're going to have to wait even longer.
Well, and I like that obviously they have the long game plan, They know where this is going. They're planning for an ongoing series. Their description says, and they were even like posting kind of amusing pictures about Volume 4 when Volume 2 hasn't even dropped yet.
Yeah.
So
Or hasn't finished, yeah.
Yeah.
3 is still in the wings, yeah.
So obviously they know where they're going, and that's exciting too. Fantastic read. Really, really like everything about this month's pull list pick was a pleasant surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know we can find them at Comixology? Where do we find them?
You can find them on Comixology. Honestly, like the best places I've found to like find information was their Facebook page and their Twitter page. I don't know if they have. I mean, they're probably listed on the Action Lab website, whatever that is. I don't know what that is, but it seems like the most direct information is from their Facebook page. That's how we talked to them, because we were like, hey, we commented on the fact that they had their cultists rock our poll list.
Yeah,
I said that weird, but that's the most direct route. If anything, you don't know where to find it, hop on there and be like, hey, go to facebook.com/Herald Comic. It's HERALD, Herald Comic, and be like, where's the best place for us to buy these things? And also they were kind of pushing for like, you can have your comic shop get it. You can have them add it to your poll list or whatever. So, you can get a physical out there.
Oh, cool.
And that'd probably be good for them also, because if you're going to get, excuse me, if you're going to get one, might as well get a couple extra, see if anybody else is interested.
Yeah, because, I mean, if what we've said at all sounds interesting, we guarantee you're going to like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And really, we shouldn't even have to say anything. Just, come on. Lovecraft and Tesla.
We knew. We knew it.
The concept is super strong, and the writing and the presentation just back it up 100%. Now, I have a little extra to add on to this. This is something I noticed they post today. This isn't necessarily new news, but this is from a link they posted today from joeblow.com. This is a quote from the article. Herald is such a smart idea that just 7 months after the first issue hit the stands, the rights to adapt the Action Lab Entertainment comic into a television series has been picked up by Remark Entertainment and Marker Stone Pictures.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're already like in talks, or in the, like, it's already been optioned to become a television series. I have no idea where it would go from here. I mean, that's obviously early news about it, but I think it would make a fantastic series.
I do too.
Oh, yeah.
Like it says there, the idea is so smart. Like, it's such a solid concept alone.
Oh, yeah.
That they're like, yep, do it. And yeah, if they follow like how the comics presented it and the characters, I think that's, that'd be a solid TV show as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't let NBC screw it up like Constantine.
Yeah, just be careful where you shop it too.
Yeah, no kidding. If
no offense, NBC, but get it together.
If the world were a good and just place, which it is not, I could envision it as something like the Sherlock series.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it's, the world never gives me what I want.
I almost want to say PBS, but PBS doesn't have, like, their productionists don't have the kind of, like, I say PBS because in terms of American productions, that's where you'll get the good period production.
Right.
Like a Downton Abbey kind of thing.
Yeah. The BBC, although this is, I think those are American companies. I could be wrong. The BBC, like, they've got period productions on lockdown, and you mentioned Sherlock. If it was handled like, hip like that, not like updating it to where, it's modern or anything, but yeah, handled well with enough of a budget to make it look right. And so long as they stuck with like good writing, it'd be
I know.
Guaranteed. Good show.
Well, maybe they should just put it on AMC, and then we can just have all of our comic book shows that we talk about on the episode in one place, and it'll save us time.
Yeah.
Get on that, AMC.
Yeah, AMC is definitely a place I'd rather see it go than something like CW.
Yeah, I agree.
Or Disney.
Yeah, which would end up on ABC or something?
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know who owns who.
I was
anymore.
trying to think of who's got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, Disney in one way, but I think it's NBC.
Oh, NBC. Okay.
I think. I could be wrong about that. I don't know.
Netflix and Hulu. That's who has
Yeah,
it.
no, I was gonna say I watch it on Hulu, but
yeah, that's true.
So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is on ABC.
ABC, okay. So I assume, well, I don't know. Disney probably owns everything in a way, but I assume that's the station Disney would own then, or one of many.
A mutual beneficial,
Yeah,
a love contract, if you will.
I was watching not long ago. It was one of the Red Letter Media videos for some random Adam Sandler movie, and they oftentimes call him allegedly a fraud because of like cash-in movies where minimal effort, lots of product placement and all that. But anyway, the point of me bringing this up was they kind of broke down like the chain of companies that owned, such and such TV channel and such movie studio and this distributor and this airline and this that and this like Coca-Cola and like
this Coca-Cola.
This soda company, which is usually Coca-Cola. I mean, Coca-Cola owns one of the major networks. I don't know. It's crazy. And kind of broke down the web of these companies that are all like,
Subsidiaries.
Thank you. Subsidiary, whatever. God,
Subsidiaries.
I discovered new words I can't say all the time on this show. And it was kind of crazy because they're like, look at all this product placement. And then they take this cruise line in the movie, which happens to be owned by this company, which is partner companies with the studio and this and that. And it was like pretty wild. But like so many of these companies in different areas are all basically like under the big umbrella of like mega corporations.
The Umbrella Corp.
Yeah.
I was going to go there. You beat me. Yeah.
Maybe that's why they intentionally like let bad Resident Evil movies slip. Like nobody will take this seriously.
Yeah. Well,
Those started off as a cautionary tales.
I don't know. I watched a lot of them for a while. It wasn't until the last two that I kind of fell off.
I've seen all but the last one, I think.
I'm not sure which one is the last one. That's the reboot. Is the reboot the last one?
I don't think they really rebooted it. Maybe they kind of did.
Oh, I thought they did.
But they brought in characters that were supposed to be dead or something.
Yeah.
So.
No. Yeah. Retribution. I don't think we saw that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but I'm pretty sure I've seen all the other ones.
Yeah.
Most of them disgust me.
I don't know why.
Because they're bad movies.
You just shut your brain off.
I liked the first one. I liked the first one.
And your eyes.
I didn't like the second one. The third one.
The third one.
Okay.
I think the third one is not great, but I think that one might be the one I like most at this point.
Is that the one with the crows and?
It's the desert one where there's a lot.
Yeah, I like that one for whatever reason.
Because that's much closer to an actual zombie movie, and I like the desert setting. It's got, it legitimately has like the post-apocalyptic zombie outbreak feel. It feels like a zombie movie.
Well, and the desert setting is part of it too because it affects everything, including plant life.
Until later sequels in which then they're flying over like lush green city or lush green landscapes. They're just bad movies. That director the director is bad. He is a hack director.
he's a bad man.
He's a hack director.
Well, and I feel sorry for my love for being married to him, but
she's not good. I don't care if I like Mila Jovovich.
I love Mila Jovovich.
But when was the last time she was in a good movie at all? Not within the last almost 2 decades.
Bull crap.
Okay, at least 10 years.
I don't know about that. I'll have to look because my time is all messed up by the 2000s. They should have been the 90s. Feel like they were the 2000s for me. I can't.
I was just say Fifth Element is excellent. So
that is the last one I can think of. It's the last one I can think of, and that was definitely within the 90s.
Oh, she's been in other
That was
stuff
well within
then.
the 90s.
Are we talking like big
Zoolander?
parts?
She was in Zoolander. That's a good movie.
Was that where she was like?
Is it? I've never watched it.
Yeah,
okay, I can't totally trash it.
What about that one alien abduction movie?
That was not a good movie either.
I know.
The fake documentary alien abduction movie. That was not good.
Yeah,
she hasn't done anything good for a long time.
Well, that's because they need to make more chick action movies because that's her.
They do, and then they hire her husband, and he casts her in it, and they make a piece of junk.
Well,
Those are terrible movies. Okay, I don't think it's necessarily fair to call him a hack, because a hack director is just somebody who doesn't give the slightest bit of crap about the projects they work on. They're just there to collect a paycheck, produce what they're told to produce as cheaply and efficiently as possible, which is like you see any general mediocre movie, probably some random hack director that they hired to do the job. He does the job and everybody's happy. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's the case, because I think he enjoys making the movies he makes. I think he has a passion for making the movies he makes. I liked Resident Evil, which I think was his second movie, or it was one of his early movies. Not Resident Evil, Event Horizon.
Oh yeah. I like Event Horizon.
But he did the first Mortal Kombat, which is by no means a good movie, but I do enjoy it.
Right.
And he did Event Horizon. I don't know what else he did between that and Resident Evil, but then it just became Resident Evil. I think he keeps doing it because he enjoys doing it. I just think he has terrible taste in the things he's creating.
So that's a decision.
Well, it's kind of, yeah, I'm sorry.
Call back.
Well, it's kind of like all those like super cheesy things from The Matrix that seemed really cool at the time. And in The Matrix, they are cool, but in any other millions of other things that tried to copy it, it seems cheesy. It kind of seems like he just was never able to let any of that go. He just keeps bringing it
Well,
back.
you see that particularly in the fourth movie, where it's
really
like,
bad.
where it was like, hey, they didn't even, like, they called it Resident Evil 3D, and it's like, no, don't call it that.
Yeah.
Don't call it 3D. That's not a good name for a movie.
No, they should never call any movie that.
Yeah. And I don't know if they, like, that's the official name, but that's what all of the promos called it. It was basically Resident Evil 3D. I'm like, no.
Yeah, they really pushed the 3D on that movie particularly. I
Yeah.
remember.
Well, and that was right when 3D made its huge comeback, but still, don't do it.
Yeah.
So we liked Extinction, but we didn't like, what was it? Not Retribution, because it's Apocalypse, right?
Yeah. Oh, the second one? Or no?
Was that the second one?
No, which one was I think it might have been. I only watched that one once, and that one was so awful. I was like, I'm never watching it again. I've seen the first.
Oh, Afterlife.
The
Afterlife
plain one?
3D. It's Resident Evil Afterlife 3D. That's, yep, that's the one.
That was terrible. What?
Is that the one with the plane? Top of the
I think
building?
so. Where they go to the Arctic because that's supposed to be a safe zone, and they're like, oh no, it's not. I guess I better go back to a really crowded city and land on top of a building.
Yeah.
Which is crap anyway, because we have to look up. There's some movie we have to look up where zombies evolve. But in every other zombie thing, the cold is supposed to slow zombies down at the very least, if not
Right.
freeze them. So the Arctic should be a safe zone. There's no reason it wouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's my zombie aficionado opinion.
You know what else about zombies?
What else?
Some people call them the Walking Dead.
What?
Yes, I've heard this.
What a weird name.
I know. I've also heard there happens to be a little TV show based on an even smaller comic book.
What
series.
would they compile those into volumes? And if so, is there a volume 3?
You know what? I do believe there. I can't keep it together.
Oh gosh.
I can't keep it together. If there was a volume 3, well, no, hold on. We're gonna keep this going. If there was a volume 3, I bet it would be called Safety Behind Bars. I bet it would collect issues 13 through 18 of this small, unheard of comic book series called The Walking Dead. I bet the story would be by Robert Kirkman, and the art just might be by Charlie Adlard.
Man, that would be great.
That would be great.
It'd be pretty cool if that were the case.
Someone should get on that. Just jump to volume 3.
If they were going to do it, they should have done it in August of 2015.
Yeah, that would have been the best time.
That would have been a great, or not 2015.
We should have read it in August of
I was going to say,
2015.
Redacted.
boy, I hope so.
If somebody was going to publish such a trade, They probably should have done it in May 18th of 2005.
Oh, 10 years ago. Okay.
I know. Oh man, we're in.
Well, you know what? Swamp Studies, we were reading like 30-year-old books. So.
Yeah.
So. Oh, geez, though. 10 years ago.
We're a decade behind the times.
But you know what? Okay. So, our entertainingly ham-fisted segue says aside, yeah, this came out 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel dated at all.
No.
None of it I've read has felt dated.
No.
So, Walking Dead Trade Paperback Volume 3. This is Dead Air, obviously. We are in it. I love this one.
Yeah.
I really liked this blue. This probably has to do with the fact that I've read the first volume multiple times and parts of the second one. And this is, for the most part, new territory for me.
Uh-huh.
But I blew through this way quicker than I expected. For as wordy as Walking Dead can kind of be.
Yeah, and it started to get a little into the hardcoreness that I love about the series, which I was glad to get to. I mean, not that it was like all, pansy before, but it's getting better. And finally, some of the things that I have wanted to share with Randall for I don't even know how long, he's finally getting to, and then getting angry at me for not sharing.
No, that was just for fun. I
know he wasn't.
I don't want you to spoil it.
You don't get angry at me because you love me.
It's an act. It's fun.
I know.
What were your initial thoughts on this, Jesse?
It was good. I mean, it just cruised through, and I guess I kind of forgot about something we'll probably talk about, which is that the obviously cleaning out the prison. Like I kind of forgot a little bit of that because it seems like so long ago, and on the TV series it seems kind of rushed. So it's much more interesting in this volume, I think, because they spend more time on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not even done with it yet. They only just began.
Yeah, they kind of clean out just the necessary bits they need to.
Yeah, they go section
before
by section.
They can like settle in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I understand why they rushed through it on the show, because then they're like, well, let's get to the drama. But it does push the danger of doing that, of going through here in the dark in a lot of places and cleaning out the zombies.
Not only does it, kind of touch on how dangerous it really is to do that, but how much longer in the real world it takes to get anything done. And
I like that events from the past books, particularly the last one, with I can't remember the little town or little neighborhood they had found that they were going to live in, but they're even like, learned from that mistake of like being too careless trying to clean out this area and not properly searching it out and all this. They learned from that and were much more careful in dealing with potential hidden zombies and stuff in this. We get more Tyrese, Tyrese and Rick time during this, which I think in the show they're like a good pair of characters, but I think in the book, like it almost seems like they bond much more. And
part of that is something I was talking about with you, that T-Dog is Tyrese, so he
yeah, kind of T-Dog and Tyrese are both Tyrese.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because
they both have aspects of the comic book Tyrese, but like the actual character Tyrese in the show is in a way softer than the comic book version.
Right. And all these things that are happening now with Tyrese happened with T-Dog. Tyrese didn't even come about until after the prison in the show.
Or at least during the prison, but way later. But at the tail end of the prison, though.
Right. But I'm just saying, I think they made T-Dog as a
kind of a
Tyrese stand-in.
And then killed him off and brought in an actual Tyrese character.
Yeah. But
wibbly wobbly.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that I like this book a lot too, and I'm sure you all will agree with me, is because this is the first one really where the walkers were less of a threat than the people around them.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
It's like a reverse of Volume 2, where all the walkers are the problem with that little gated community, and then in this one, it's like, well, the walkers are not nearly as big a threat as the people that actually live there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this is where it really is diving into territory that I think all the really good zombie movies, when a zombie movie or a story in general, but I have more experience with zombie movies, hits it right, is where the zombies are a threat, but the key villain or the real threat of the story are the other people.
Right.
Like, that's classic zombie stuff. And if it's done well, that comes across, that's a big element. And you really get that. In fact, I think so far in this series, when the zombies start to become less of a threat, the body count actually starts to like skyrocket way higher than what the zombies were doing. Mm-hmm. Because in this, and we're talking full spoilers, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Because in this, as soon as like, how many people do the zombies actually kill? Like, maybe no. I can't think.
I don't know. I don't know if they do.
I don't think that zombies actually get anybody.
But we lose like 5 characters at least.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not all like some new characters. Mm-hmm. So they show up at this prison. They're cleaning it out. The moment where they find the 4 prisoners that are like left back there, I love that moment because they're like, and I kind of, in a way, seen it coming. I was almost like either they're setting up for a really horrific scene or kind of something funny, because it's like, was it Tyrese and Rick? Mm-hmm. And they're like taking extra care, like it's just lingering on them getting ready to open this door, like, be ready, And I was like, okay, it's either going to be horrific or kind of funny. And they open the door, and it's just 4 prisoners in the middle of this big cafeteria, and they're all just, hey, you want some meatloaf?
Yeah.
That was a really good moment. They're disgusting, like they've been using the cooler or the freezer for their waste.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That was unusual, but that was kind of fun anyway.
Mm-hmm. I like that they take the time to think of things like that, because that's an issue they would have to deal with. Mm-hmm. But then again, they said later in the thing that the prison still had running water, so I don't know, I don't understand why they had to go for the freezer, but whatever.
And they kind of seemed like they had a lot of access to different areas. Not all areas. I think they were locked into certain parts.
The kitchen was one of them, and if they have running water and they're in a kitchen,
I know.
Whatever.
They could have done something.
Yeah.
But
whatever. The freezer toilet is fun.
These are prison criminals. They may not have their act together.
Okay.
However, and one of them says this, and this is great. This is where, like, I think it really becomes interesting for me in that respect. It's something that, for the most part, I think there's a certain tone that comes in this book that I think the show has pretty successfully pulled from the source material. In that example, the prisoners, this is jumping ahead, but the prisoners are like, we were fine here for 4 months or however many months, just the 4 of us, and nobody died. You guys show up, and suddenly you're all killing each other. Mm-hmm. Like, just the idea of like how being out there affects people, and how some people become crazy, and them as a group, like on the TV show and in here, obviously, them as a group are not stable people at all. Like, it's not a stable group. And that's something that I've always found interesting in the show, that I think is part of what I really like about here, because you're really seeing it. Like,
and the characters, I think, do a good job of pointing it out too. Better in the book than
in the TV show.
In the show,
yeah.
And I want to say it was Dale, maybe, said something specifically about Rick, where they're like, he's like, either he's in like insane with rage, or he's like overly optimistic about everything and everything's going to be great and wonderful.
Yeah.
It flops between the two extremes.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And yeah. I mean, you might have got a little bit of that in the first 2 volumes, but Rick's character is pretty interesting in here in regards to that. because you are starting to get that like extreme unhinged Rick. Crazy stuff happens.
Oh yeah,
crazy stuff happens in this. There's a lot of good stuff. Again, we're gonna go full spoilers here. We finally get the payoff between Tyrese's daughter and I don't even know his name, but the kid, her boyfriend.
Oh, Chris.
Where he's the seedy guy who's been plotting something. We find out what that is.
We got guns. We finally got them.
We finally got guns. And in my mind, it was always, and maybe this is what they were intending, in which case they succeeded. In my mind, he was going to shoot the dad or do something like that. But that's not it at all. In fact,
no.
Instead we get a twist. And I think they set that twist up really well without, it took me by surprise what their plan was. They were supposed to do it like a double murder suicide type thing. Well, not a double. It was supposed to be like
a murder. It was
murder.
Basically.
They were going to murder each other,
but
it's a suicide type thing.
Yeah.
The boyfriend and Tyrese's daughter.
After they had sex, of course.
Of course.
Gotta
for
have
the first time, right?
Yeah, gotta lose their virginity on a filthy floor first, and then kill each other.
Well, yeah, they wanted to go out on a high.
Yeah. and that was portrayed fairly well in the, like, you know, he was all like, well, are you sure, blah, 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 and she was like, it was perfect, blah, blah, blah. Like, I just thought that that exchange was handled very well.
That was crap, by the way. She was just trying to get him to get on with it. It wasn't perfect. There's no such thing, especially the first time.
Well, of course. Okay. Well, of course. That's why I like it. That's what I liked about it, because it seemed like a pretty realistic exchange.
Yeah.
You know, not that it always would go this way, but the guy's self-conscious about it. It was like, are you sure it was good? You know, and he wants that extra, like, yeah, it was great.
Yeah, struck me.
And then, of course, she's not going to be like, you know, telling the complete truth, but she's going to say what
she thinks
is
he wants
nice.
to hear.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it, because you know.
Yeah,
I know that.
I do know that.
I'm not talking you specifically. That makes it weird. I mean the reader. The reader knows that.
Good job, reader.
And the guy character probably knows that.
Yeah.
But that's how it goes in life. But then they have this plot to shoot each other in the chest. And it goes... You start to get into The Walking Dead, like it's going to go as wrong as it can, and it does.
Yeah.
She ends up dead, and he waited too long to pull the trigger. So, of course...
The opposite. He pulled too soon.
Oh, he pulled the trigger too soon. That's right. And so, of course, she's dead, and this seedy guy that we have no reason to care for at all. In fact, he's only been set up for us to dislike him is alive. But not for long.
Nope. Yeah. In come Tyrese and
Rick.
And then the fun stuff comes.
that it really is. Then people start just losing it.
Yeah.
That's a pretty hardcore scene too. Tyrese finds her body and all that.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty. I can't imagine having to be him, and well, just losing a child in the first place would be horrific enough, and then wanting her to be alive and having her, and this was the part that Randy was why didn't I tell him, and then having her reanimate as a zombie and trying to reason with her, which we all know you can't reason with a zombie.
Oh yeah, and the boyfriend shoots her again. He's the one that, and then Tyrese kills the boyfriend pretty quick. He starts to come back, and Rick's like, don't let him come back. And Tyrese is like, no, I want him to. I'm going to kill him again. Much slower this time.
Yeah.
So,
which is a fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you get into that hardcore territory real quick. And from that moment, like, it is just, everything is just straight drop downhill for everybody there. Like, things go bad all around.
Yeah.
And by this point, we've got Herschel and Glenn and that whole family has come back over to they've come back to the prison, or they've rejoined the group.
Which I was really surprised by. And I like that they did that. I like that Rick was like, I can't just leave them out there knowing that we have this secure place. I also like that they didn't spend very much time on that. Rick's like, I'm going to go out there and try to convince them to come back. And like the next page, he's out there talking to him. and then like the page after that, they're all back there. So I'm kind of like, I like that they didn't spend a lot of time on that.
Yeah. But they also use as I was talking earlier, the cold slows zombies down, and it's springtime, so they're getting more and more zombie attacks out at the farm.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense for them to move.
Mm-hmm.
It's all very logical. But the next horror that happens to Herschel, of course, because the poor man can't have enough bad things happen to him. But this was in a previous episode. We were talking about how many kids Herschel had, and I was like, no, he has a lot more kids, and I didn't want to give away why I wanted to make sure you guys knew he had a lot of extra kids, but it was because of this scene with the girls.
Well, and it might be me, but that seemed unclear to me because I didn't know who those little girls were until Herschel showed up, and it was like, oh, well, clearly it's Herschel's. I didn't know who those kids were.
Right.
So I don't know, maybe it might just be me and I didn't catch it, but I didn't think it seemed very clear. But then again, I guess, a bunch of people showed up with Herschel. I should have assumed they were all Herschel's family.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and while this is all happening, Rick is off he's double checking the fact that these dead people can come back. Mm-hmm. So he's got to make his own little trip on a motorcycle, a la Daryl Dixon, and make sure that Shane is actually dead.
This is like kind of an important thing in the like Walking Dead zombie or comic book zombie rules is, this is when they discover that people come back. You don't have to be bitten. They just come back, which I think I had mentioned. Yeah, I mentioned last time if that was the case, and you like tried to play it cool because you didn't want to spoil it, which I appreciate it.
Yeah, I did. I know. I figured you might. I'm like, no, that's never been established. Doesn't happen.
Not yet.
Yeah, because if you're like, not yet, I'd be like, why'd you say something? You're spoiling it.
I know. No, I did good. I was proud of myself.
You did good. And I think the fact that you like kind of played it off as like, no, that's not the case, like made this more of a surprise for me. And I like that Rick, like, okay, I got to go do this thing. Mm-hmm. And it was to go dig up Shane. Mm-hmm. And he's not going to bury him a second time. Oh. I also like that they didn't spend he was gone. The story continued with him gone, and then it would go with him, but they didn't spend a lot of time on what would have otherwise been, I'm assuming, a pretty freaking long bike ride.
Yeah, it was like, there and back was 3 days, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like literally a page and a half later, and we're with Herschel walking in on what happens.
Yeah. And that, I remember the first time around, that blew my mind. I'm like, wait, what is going on here? How did this happen?
Uh-huh.
And which, I'm sure it's even worse for the characters, blindsided by this craziness.
But it is shocking.
It is shocking.
Because it does seem out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. And this is, like I said, hardcore. It gets all hardcore. This imagery is one of the first things I remember that will always stick with me when I think of The Walking Dead. So these little girls go to get a haircut or something, and they're in the barber area, and then they're left alone for a smidge, and Herschel goes to find him, and when he gets back, someone has decapitated both of these little girls. Mm-hmm. Their bodies are laying on the floor with their heads laying there, and then as the panels go down the page, their heads wake up.
Their eyes start
zombies.
like looking around.
And always, I will remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very striking and disturbing image.
It's
sure.
So disturbing. So obviously, Herschel's not having a good time, and now everybody's in a panic because there's a murder amongst them.
I don't think it's not Rick's fault, but that group showing up has been nothing but bad news for Herschel.
I know it. And Rick, but later on as it goes on, Rick blames himself and Herschel blames himself, and everybody feels really bad about it and tries to take on the guilt of it, except for maybe the inmates.
Mm-hmm. When then you get into this whole whodunit kind of thing where you're like, okay, who done it? And they're like, they've got that creepy shower scene where the one guy's like a creeper, and you're like, oh, he's creepy, so maybe it's him.
And of course they lock up the one guy that they know was in there for murder, which is logical, but then again they had no evidence to do so.
Yeah, and like he was saying,
And I think, in a way, he's the big, scary black guy.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it, too.
Yeah, I'm sure. Especially...
They don't really play on that, but Laurie has such a fit over him.
Yeah.
You know, it's that guy, blah, 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 you know.
That's what I was going to say. You don't really need to spell it out when you have Laurie, the overreacting white housewife, being the one putting him in there. It's kind of spelled out already.
Yeah.
Right.
But when he says right away, you know, I'm in for murder. I killed my wife and her boyfriend. They were cheating on me. People like that. He doesn't seem like I'm a big serial killer. So I don't know why they would jump to that conclusion other than she's, reacting.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's a big scary guy, and they know that he has killed somebody. And yeah, Laurie is, and she even says it several times, and other characters comment on it several times. She's over emotional wreck through this whole thing. Mm-hmm. But she really does throw a bigger fit. So spoilers again, but it turns out it's not that guy. It's the other guy who everybody said, who I recall a couple characters referring to him as the nerd, and he seems okay. When it's that guy, she's not that.
Mm-hmm. She gets very upset at Rick for beating the crap out of him and busting his hand all up without any kind of, I don't know, whatever. And then when he's like, we need to, it's, what is it? This little phrase they use.
Rick?
You kill, you die, or something like that. It becomes, a thing.
And they say, he says it over and over. He says it multiple times.
Right.
Well, yeah, Rick is gone during a lot of this. Oh, and I forgot about this too. They go to clean out. Rick leaves, and Tyrese. This is kind of similar to how it goes in the TV show. Mm-hmm. And Tyrese is like, "Let's go clean out that gym." Blah blah blah. And he's obviously, he's not. He seems not to be reacting at all to his daughter's death. Mm-hmm. In the TV show, it's his sister, I think. Or something.
Yeah.
That's right. And so he gathers Glenn and somebody else to go clean out the gym, and like in the TV show, becomes reckless and literally just throws himself into the middle of a group of zombies. And Glenn and who else was it? Was it? It doesn't matter. They end up having to leave him behind because they figure, well, if we don't, we're gonna get eaten, and he's probably done for. So they lock the door up. He was in there until Rick got back. Because Rick got back and was like, well, let's go in there, blah, blah, blah. And they get in there, and he's just sitting there amongst, like, this mounds of zombie corpses. And he's like, well, about time you guys got back. Mm-hmm. And I think when he launched himself in there, he just had a hammer. So he took on, like, a whole room full of these zombies with a hammer.
Yeah, it's... I can understand maybe him surviving it through rage, but not having gotten bit at all. Is a little far-fetched.
He seems like he gets totally overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It's
a stretch.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that makes it kind of fun when, like, oh wow, okay, he's all right.
Yeah.
And then there's the killer guy,
mm-hmm.
this unknown killer who killed the little girls. Mm-hmm. Turns out to be the tax evasion guy, mm-hmm. who swears he didn't do it. The tax evasion, that is.
Yeah.
And he attacks, was it Andrea?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And cuts her up a bit. And he just, at that point, like, he's just gone crazy, and he just chases her right out into the open in front of everybody, and he's still trying to attack her in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when Rick's like, this MFer right here, mm-hmm. and like beats the crap out of him to where Rick's hands are all busted up, and it's the guy's face is all busted up, and
mm-hmm.
it's pretty brutal. And everybody, I mean, I understand why it's a shocking scene to come upon, but everybody, I don't know, reacts badly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And meanwhile, everybody else is finding love.
That's true. Yeah.
It's like Tyrese and Carol are in the gym, and Carl and was it Sophia are like, yeah, I'll be your boyfriend.
Yeah.
It's like all this love is happening, and then Rick's going like postal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that kind of erupts out while Carl and
Well, the kids
Sophia
are-
are out
yeah.
there, so they watch this happen too. And I was thinking
Oh,
about
yeah.
that when that was happening.
Yeah,
Because he becomes scared. He's like, is Daddy gonna kill us?
mhm. I like that whole thing because, well, partially because I don't like, what's Carl's mom's name?
Lori.
Lori.
Okay. I don't really care for Lori in the book or the show, but I like that it takes basically Carl to make her see sense, where he's like, was he a bad man like Shane, the guy I killed? And she has to be like, oh crap, yeah.
Yeah, I do like that too, because she was,
'Cause
not seeing it Rick's way. She was
Yeah.
not seeing it Rick's way at all, until Carl said that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it also kind of makes you step back and look at the whole world. Like, you can't judge things the way that we judge things in our current world, because sometimes little kids end up having to kill adults that have gone insane,
Yeah.
and you can't blame them, and so you can't really blame him when he freaks out on some guy that decapitated 2 little girls,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't really understand why she would freak out about that anyway.
No, yeah.
But
Because
that's
she
me.
threw a bigger fit about the one guy that they had locked up.
Mm-hmm. And then the other, to me, kind of, and they don't really show much. They show little bits, but the other kind of horrific bit of the book was, or that last one. Well, I suppose we should tell the story. The guy gets loose because, what is her name, Patricia?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Patricia lets him out because he had been friendly to her, and she thinks they're, being unfair to him. So she lets him out, and obviously he's gone completely nuts because as soon as she lets him out, he starts attacking her.
Mm-hmm. Like choking her and stuff.
Uh-huh. And Maggie steps out from the cell behind them and shoots him.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
she's
this
like-
that's right after she has that interchange with Glenn, where she's like, "I don't think I can love you anymore because everyone dies."
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And she shoots him. And she's like, hey, I feel a little better now.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't get to have their whole, like, hanging trial, whatever
Mm-hmm.
type thing they were planning on having. But then what they do with this body after that, they take the guy out to the fence and throw him out to the zombies, and Herschel and Maggie watch him get torn apart.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah, they do
That's
watch.
kind of...
The look on Herschel's face when he's watching, he's just like stone cold, just dead eyes,
Mhm.
just watching it.
And spoilers, while this is all happening, the prisoners have got their own little plan going.
Yeah, because they know where some guns are that the group is not aware of, and it's like the guy they had locked up. Like he said, like we were fine here all this time, and then you guys show up and start murdering each other. We're not the crazy ones, and he's like, he's basically like, forget these people. This is our prison, and it kind of sounds like their plan is, if they have to, grab the guns and then escape from the prison, shoot their way out to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But then, and I could be wrong, it kind of seems like the end, like he's like, you guys need to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he pretty much says it with expletives, with Grawlix's.
Oh, he says, and I appreciate the rawness and the realness. He says some hardcore things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I appreciate kind of how real they keep him as like a hardened prison inmate, but it was kind of shocking too. I mean, because there's strong language in this, but he says some things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the end of it. That's where we're left.
Mm-hmm. So it's an exciting cliffhanger right there.
Yeah, I love this one. I think the art was good. I think because the last issue, this artist is good. I mean, he's very good, and he's the one who's been doing it since volume 2 of the trades.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was a little thrown last issue by the art change. Not that they were wildly different, but I preferred the first artist. His name is eluding me right now.
Tony Moore.
Yes, very well known. I think I was, past that on this, and I did appreciate the art. Looks good. The characters are solid and always very consistent looking. Like the art's very consistent, and I think the zombies, like, I'm sure if I look back at volume 2, it'd be no different. It'd be the same, but the zombies felt like they had a good amount of just crud and detail and funk that I really appreciated about Tony Moore's version of the zombies.
Right.
Right.
So I don't think it's not that the art is different over Volume 2. I think I just like was past the artist change and really appreciated it more in this one.
Mm-hmm. And sorry, this is another little aside thing, but I like the little things that, and because we watch the show, have a bigger impact probably on us too, but that are little nothings, but they could, you know, like have like little conversations about them, like the stabbing the zombies through the fence. And,
yeah.
And how that one guy who I knew couldn't be a bad guy, because even though he did the little small pervert shower thing, spent like forever being like, or we could just hold the knife tighter when we pull it back, or we could just keep a holder tied on the knife. Like every time they kept trying to come up with different inventions to get the knife out of the zombies' heads.
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
And I'm like, no, he's funny and he's great. He's not a bad guy.
Because they're because in the show, and this is kind of a flaw of the effect, and a little bit of like, well, suspension of disbelief. I mean, it's zombies anyway. Mm-hmm. But in the show, it is like stabbing through air when they stab these things in the head. Mm-hmm. Like it's just easy. That's because they are stabbing through air, and then it's like digitally whatever. But they just boom and stab them in the head, pull the knife out, no problem. But in here, like, the one guy's like, we could just do this. Like, they're coming up with that plan where they go out all the time and thin out the zombie herd up against the fences. But he can't hold on to the knife. And the zombie falls back and pulls the knife out. And they're coming up with these, like, some of them are kind of wacky plans to, like, you know, have a board attached to this or that, or, oh, this wouldn't work, like, making it difficult. And I didn't really understand why they weren't, why you weren't just like, well, hold on to the knife tighter. And that's what the one guy was saying the whole time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I enjoyed that too. And was I was as perplexed as the one guy as to why they were having so much trouble with it. Mm-hmm. But realistically, you would have to hold on to it tight to pull it back out, I would think. Mm-hmm. I've never stabbed zombies.
It's funny that the comics pay closer attention to physics than the TV show. And you'd think it'd be the other way around, but no.
It's truth, though, yeah. I can't recall what else, but I don't think this is the first time where I'm like, the comics handled this so much more realistically than the TV show.
Well, like the cold, like the frozen zombies, they haven't come up in the show yet. Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense.
Winter doesn't seem to exist in the show.
Nope. I think it happens in between seasons.
I think you're right.
That's when Lori goes from, I'm pregnant, to, wow, she's pregnant.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, you know? So, yeah.
So there's our dead air.
I enjoyed this one quite a bit, though.
It was good, yeah. Super fast read, and I accidentally just paged to the first page of Volume 4 as we were going through. Uh-huh. And, Michonne. Super excited about Volume 4. Spoilers,
what?
Michonne.
Yeah.
I wish I had that actual issue when Michonne first showed up. Michonne showed up on the TV show. Mm. That became a very pricey comic book.
Oh yeah, I bet.
It's because she's a word we can't use on this show, even though I really wish we could, because it is the best word to describe so many things.
A bad behind.
A bad behind.
The BAMF.
Yeah.
Or as Dane Cook would call it, a BAMF.
A BAMF.
Yep.
But in a comic book podcast, that means something that's a power. That means
that's a good
else.
point. That's a good point. Yeah.
But I like it. We haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet. I don't know if we'll be able to watch it soon because we missed it. But have you watched? Did you watch the first Fear the Walking Dead?
I have not.
Yeah, me either.
Well, darn it, we need to...
I've heard it's a slow start, but it may be, who knows. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing is, like, thinking about it, if this all goes well, kind of thing, and we see this show continue, eventually this show is gonna be the same as The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
that's the goal. It's basically, well, we hope this show continues, so eventually it will be The Walking Dead, only with different characters.
Because I can't imagine they would. I mean, you can't do, in terms of like having characters do things within this world. The world, it ends up to be the same thing as The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
the setting is the same.
Which is not to say that they can't do awesome things. It's just they're really going to have to be creative when it comes to the writing.
I almost wonder if they don't expect it to last that long.
Well, I have questions. Where does it start?
It's like, I don't know when it. What do you mean?
Where the location?
It's the West Coast, like California or something.
Okay. See, here's what I was thinking. If they're going to try and do the same thing, only completely different. Well, first of all, it's going to be different because they're doing the beginning of the outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was thinking where they should take it, and I don't know where they plan on taking it or whatever. But since they're a coastal city, they should go take to the water and then maybe some islands and see how all of that is affected, because we're assuming this is a big global thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know how it affects any other country besides America. So if we could get some on the water stuff, because I've read some zombie books and seen a few things, but mostly read things, where ocean zombie stuff gets crazy and scary. So I'd really like to see that, huh?
Zombie versus shark?
Well, no, but
Zom Sharknado.
They can't drown, but
water's not good on
them.
Flesh. So I hear.
Yeah.
Salt water especially.
But if you're, say, in a like islandy area that's near a mainland, stuff could walk across the water and not deteriorate and make it to the island. And there's some interesting possible fortifications they could do that might work or might not. And there's just lots of things that they could play with if they're going to go off the coast that would make the show completely different, but still really interesting.
That reminded me of, it's like an unofficial sequel to Dawn of the Dead. There's I believe it's a 70s Italian-American, it's like Italian produced but released here, called Zombie with an I, or Zombie 2, depending. Like, it's got a couple different titles.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
The copy I have is Zombie with an I. I think it's I just had the director's name.
Dave mentioned this to me a few times, yeah.
And what makes me think of it is because I referenced it. Zombie versus shark. It has not only the best zombie versus shark scene you'll ever see, the only zombie versus shark scene you'll ever see.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane. But that is, other than that joke, it is relevant because it is like a zombie outbreak that kind of starts like zombie versus shark. There's some boat stuff and then a lot of island stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we were watching like one of those top 10 video lists of top 10 like crazy death scenes or whatever. And the one with the splinter through the lady's eye, that was zombie. The effects are like the gore effects are insane and gruesome in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But not an amazing movie, but totally a pretty awesome 70s zombie movie,
Right.
When it harkens back to episode 1 or 2, where we were talking about the other dead animal zombies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they never, I assume from things I've seen and read,
Zombie Sharknado.
that
Ooh, boy.
Animals aren't affected. So
In Walking Dead?
Yeah. And even if they stay on the mainland, I suppose they're going to be in California, which is going to have a much higher population than whatever suburban.
Suburban and a lot of a lot of rural areas they spend in the Walking Dead series.
They went to Atlanta and it only, I think, jumped into the very outskirts of Atlanta for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And that was all that we saw of a metropolitan area.
Yeah, it's just true.
So, but seeing
it had pretty much been desolated by the time Rick got there.
Right. So seeing them in a highly populated area and from the beginning of the outbreak, I think is just that will carry it through several seasons probably.
Mm-hmm.
So, if they last long enough, we'll see if they do some interesting out in the water type stuff.
Yeah.
Which I would totally do. I'd steal a yacht from some zombie and become a sailor.
A zombie?
I'd steal a yacht from a zombie, I'd become a sailor, and then I'd go all Last Man on Earth and start going to different cities and being like, I'd like a Mona Lisa in my bathroom.
So
know?
it would make that zombie captain quite pirate. Whoop.
We had to. We had to. We didn't have any classic Jesse puns this episode.
You're right.
It's not a Grawlix without a pun.
No.
Doesn't have to be a good pun, but it has to be a pun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when this drops, the Grawlix Bytes #3 will have been out for like 2 weeks, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, and I just got a text that so all of the Kickstarters that we mentioned on that episode have been funded. In fact, Cannons of the Clouds was the one that was not funded. It's funded, and they actually processed my pledge. So
nice.
Gold, and triple gold.
See? We told you we were going to recommend you some good, promising Kickstarter projects, and they were all funded. In fact, everybody who's run a Kickstarter that we've talked to on here, they were successful.
I think that we're good luck.
Yeah.
We're like magic magician rabbit foots.
Yeah.
That's what we are.
Rub us, we're good luck.
Well,
That's weird.
yeah, and
That's a bumper sticker right there.
Rub us, we're good luck. Grawlix Podcast.
I don't know that I'm
What
really
is
comfortable
this?
with people just coming up and rubbing my boyfriend.
No, you're making it too real. You got to rub the Grawlix Podcast
Oh.
as a collective. As a collective, I guess. As a whole.
Yeah.
Rub our symbols.
Yeah. No,
Slap
it's
the
good.
Grawlix on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then rub that slap. Wait, what? No.
Yeah.
So I think that
You gotta rub it in. That makes it nice and warm and tingly.
We're not letting this one go.
I start these things and then you guys run with them. You run away with them.
we can't let him go. No.
The Grawlix Bytes are generally supposed to be shorter episodes, and I think Melanie and I really sidetracked your original plans for that, Jesse.
No. Well, when it's just you've got to have a lot of content, and so that's what I did. I had a lot of content, but when you have people there that can react to that content, that becomes easily a regular episode.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think I have ideas for one, how that episode probably should have went, but if we do future ones like that, Grawlix Bytes with all of us, I have some ideas on keeping it reeled in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
For one, I should have had those show notes you sent me out and looking at them so that we could have like bounced back and forth between reading the headlines. That might have made it smoother. But I think when we have React at the News, especially since it's React at the News, we should almost have like a timer with a buzzer or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And set it to
a speed round kind of thing.
Yeah, set it to like 2 or 3 minutes. Even okay, I guess if it's going to be each of us, maybe 2 minutes each. If we each have something separate to say about it, or we could do like a collective thing, and just hit that, and then we'll have the headline, hit the timer, and then we'll have our couple minutes to react.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
and
okay.
that'll keep us reeled in. That might be kind of cool.
Yeah, we had lots of great discussion, and I still encourage people. I encourage you to go ahead and listen to it because it's a lot of fun. But it's like a full extra episode that you got out of us for just because.
Yeah, it came out to be about an hour and a half. The recording was over 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So some stuff got trimmed, and eventually some of the YouTube stuff's fallen behind because I've gotten distracted with other things. But there's a whole like discussion about Fantastic Four that I cut, and and there's some other things that I trimmed that would make for some good like supplemental content and YouTube videos and radio station time fillers for those odd length episodes, stuff like that.
And it was good because it once again proved that I am always right. And everyone just needs to accept that, and the world will be a better place.
In what way?
Because Arrow won.
Oh, you're right.
I said I'm always right.
Because we recorded that before the WWE match with Stephen Amell.
Uh-huh.
And you and Jesse thought he was going to lose, and you thought he was going to win, and
I was right.
You were right.
Like I said.
Yeah.
Nope.
Always am.
You guys should have thrown some money on it, made it interesting.
Yeah.
I'm glad we didn't. History has shown I'd be on the losing end of that.
But I think it was a fun episode, and The one upside to having the longer bites like that is even though they're news topics, I think there was some like interesting discussions that are still be interesting and relevant to listen to later on too.
Oh yeah. Also on the Grawlix Bytes, we talked about your album. Just in case people didn't hear that, where should they go?
They should go to superscience.bandcamp.com or superscience.xyz, whichever you can remember, but the Bandcamp is the direct one. If you go to my website, you'll probably end up at the Bandcamp site anyway. Yeah, and listen to my music. You can listen to my new album, Blood, for free. You can download high-quality digital download version of it for monies if you want. Sometime I might do like just kind of, I might randomly just throw some free like download codes out once in a while.
There we go. Yeah.
But yeah, check that out. We talked a lot about it in that last episode, so I don't want to get too much into it. Except I do want to comment on something. We're gonna comment on our previous episode here. Melanie had been up all night.
Yes, I had.
You said some pretty amusing things that Jesse noticed while we were recording. I didn't even notice. We were talking about vampires and sexy vampires.
Okay.
I referenced that earlier in the episode, but nobody caught it.
Did you see?
Yeah, I said I never met a spade I didn't like.
That's right. That's what you were talking. Okay. You said I never met a vampire I didn't like, and then you continued on. Jesse laughed, and then I jumped in and just continued on like nothing happened.
I was feeling crazy for a moment there, yeah.
When I was editing the episode, I come across that, and I was like, what did she just say? I ran it back, and you're like, I never met a vampire I didn't like. And I messaged Jesse right away. I was like, man, you caught this because you laughed, but neither of us noticed what she said.
Well, I'm sure it meant something like,
Well, it meant you generally like vampires.
Yeah.
Vampire stories, and
yes,
vampires are cool and all this. But you were sleep deprived, and it came out, I never met a vampire I didn't like. But you just delivered it with such seriousness, and you were just continued with the rest of your thought.
Well, that's what it takes.
It's
sometimes
pretty great.
When I'm
great.
Tired.
That's the magic. That's the magic right there.
Mm-hmm. Give me one more day without sleep, man. I'd be deliriously funny. It'd be great. But I'd probably, suffer in several ways.
All right, that's about it for the show. But hey, send us an email. We'd love to get an email, like a letters page section going. Send us an email at letters@grawlixpodcast.com. Ask us some questions. Give us some discussion topics or just like feedback on the show, on us as people. Try not to get too personal.
I want to know how cool I am.
That sounded so sincere. It kind of broke my heart. There was so much emotion in that. Listen, you can hear what's at stake. Email us at letters@grawlixpodcast.com and tell Melanie how cool she is.
Please.
Also, follow us on Twitter at Grawlix Podcast. Check out the website, grawlixpodcast.com. We are on Facebook. Not only do we have a page, facebook.com/Grawlix Podcast, but we have a Facebook group, and I'm actually really excited. I hope that like blows up. Come join it. It's facebook.com/groups/Grawlix Podcast. I mean, you can sense a theme here with the URLs.
Yep.
Grawlix Podcast was a good pick. Come talk to us. We generally, I've actually been kind of posting more like random amusing stuff I find in there than like other places because I like it, and I hope to like get some discussions going in there. So if you want to talk comic books, Doctor Who, random nerdy meme pictures, or about the episodes, whatever, come join the group. We'll let you in. We're not elitists.
Not at all.
One of us.
Gooble gobble.
Google gobble?
Google gobble.
And also you can check out our show on the comicspodcast.com comics podcast network. It's there. And finally, another welcome to Fatboy and Captain Llama to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. We really do enjoy their show. You should check it out. I mean, if you're listening to us ramble about comic books, and movies for this long, you're gonna love their show. You might never come back. Don't do that. But go check them out. Go check them out. They're
and then come back.
And then come back.
And then wonder why you came back. And then go back there. And then come back here, please.
Please. When you're done listening to them, come back to us. That's how it is. But yeah, I mean, this is a pretty funny show. And they, from a personal, like, from my viewpoint, I enjoy their show quite a bit because they talk a lot of DC. They talk Marvel stuff too. But it seems like they read a lot of DC, so I like that slant right there. The DC slant.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
This is Melanie, and if Grawlixing your pants is cool, consider me Miles Davis.
This is Randy. Tell me where the Grawlix is.
And this is Jesse. As always, should you or your IM force be caught or killed, the Secretary will disavow any knowledge of your actions, and this Grawlix will self-destruct in 5 seconds. Good luck.
Thank you for listening to the Grawlix Podcast. The Grawlix Podcast is a production of Electronic Media Collective and Vorpal Arrow Studios. This podcast is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. To hear more, visit GrawlixPodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook at Facebook.com/GrawlixPodcast and like us on Twitter, Twitter.com/GrawlixPodcast.
Well, that was an episode.
Just shambling to greatness. That's
how we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is how we do.